everyone. I'm Shresi Pal, and I am Associate Professor at BMS School of Architecture, Yelahanka, Bangalore. We are proud to be a NAC accredited and very recently NIRF ranked independent architectural college, and we are proud to be part of the esteemed BMS Educational Trust. Today's session is part of our ongoing research orientation seminar series, which is dedicated to building a strong research culture within the architecture community. These seminars are open to all, and we are thrilled to have participants from different parts of India joining us. Your engagement enriches this initiative, and we encourage you to actively participate as we collectively tackle the complexities of scientific research. Now, I would like our director, Dr. Shaila Bantanur, to formally welcome our distinguished guest speaker.
Thank you, Shresi. A warm welcome to Dr. Shalini. Though we always like to welcome all the guests in person, always, better to have these interactions. But COVID has taught us a lot of these platforms, like where we can meet. Again, it has its own advantage and disadvantage as well. But we thought let us have these kind of a series of lecture series, like which is now one Shresi's heading is research dialogue series. So which we generally every month we have one session like this. And apart from that, knowledge series also we started. This is again post-COVID. We thought we'll have these kind of a platforms created to the faculties and then even the professionals, working professionals who wanted to have more extra knowledge about the different themes. So especially this research dialogue series is really, we are getting very good response. And then even I think for today's session, around 56 or 57 participants have registered. Hopefully they will now join slowly. But I must appreciate effort of my coordinator where we are really, like every session is becoming so interesting. And a couple of sessions, especially when we featured about AI as used as a tool for the research, is now we are getting really good response. Especially again, intention is a lot of people are doing research which is more of a the part-time research scholar. So where do they face all these challenges, how to, especially in terms of the literature review? When they do the full-time, it's always better to have it, but we have our own limitations where a lot of, and again as we rightly said, the NIRF and then NAC accreditation do have a lot of benchmarks for the institutions, and then they also push the faculties to go for the research, and then that become more challenging for all the faculties to how to go about the good research. So in that, literature review plays a very important role, and we personally feel like more in-depth these sessions will definitely help the faculties who have enrolled for research, and then we are actually getting good response, and even people are also enrolling for continuously for these kind of sessions. Especially I should mention here the sessions which focused on research writing, which where AI was a major tool. The one which we had it, AI powered research writing, Dr. K.S. Soumya Rani, was again very interesting. Even when I did my full-time PhD, but again I also learned so many things after attending these kind of sessions, because AI we never used for the literature review. So again, and introduction to N Vivo is another one of the very nice sessions which we had it from Dr. H.K. Dangi. And now your session, which is again how to write a journal article using AI tools. I'm sure this is a very, very need of the hour, because everybody, faculty should now go for the publications, and then in that case these sessions are really, really going to help them out. And with this, I warmly welcome again to this session, and I'm sure the participants will enjoy with this session. And over to you, Shalini, and thank you so much for being a part of this. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Shaila.
Yeah.
Really
I'll quickly introduce you.
Yes, yeah.
It is my pleasure to introduce our speaker for the 9th event of BMSSA Research Dialogues, Dr. Shalini Sahni, founder of Koach Scholar. Now, Dr. Sahni brings nearly 15 years of experience in academia and is the founder member of Koach Scholar. As an international trainer in personal profile analysis, human job analysis, emotional quotient, certified by Thomas Assessment, she brings a wealth of expertise in advanced research methodologies and statistical tools. Her proficiency spans SPSS, AMOS, BiblioShiny, VosViewer, Bibexcel, Mendeley, NVivo, MaxQDA, and she regularly trains postgraduate students and research scholars across disciplines. Dr. Sahni is a seasoned educator, having taught HRM, organizational behavior, marketing research, organizational development, and performance management systems to BBA and MBA students. With numerous publications in reputed international journals indexed in ABDC, Scopus, and Web of Science, she has established herself as a credible researcher and trainer. Her extensive experience extends to delivering management development programs for notable organizations, including Adani Ports, Parle-G, and Mansa Consulting. We are honored to have you, ma'am, with us. Her session will be an invaluable opportunity for us to delve into advanced AI research tools, methodologies, and effective research practices. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sheshi, and thank you, Dr. Shella, for inviting me. This is a commendable opportunity which has been given to me by your organization, and I have been acquainted with many organizations in Bangalore and I have been conducting, but this is the first time I have been invited by BMS. So thank you so much for inviting me and having me here. And I hope participants enjoy the session, and I would definitely try to give my best shot and make them understand how to use AI tools and what not to use in the AI tools, which is more important than how to use and what to use. So let's see how it goes, and I'm sure it's going to be beneficial for all of them. Thank you once again. So if you allow, and then I can share my screen and we'll start the session. May I?
Yes, please, please, ma'am.
Sure. Thank you. All right. So good afternoon, everyone. Let's first start with a beginning of research and manuscript writing. And I assume that this is in the sense that I know this is a very important aspect of academicians, for academicians. So everybody who is into research, the ultimate eventual goal is manuscript writing and of course the publication. But these days we have got lots of AI tools where we don't know how much to use, where to use, when to use, and where not to use. So all these things becomes very important when we are dealing with all these, technical apps and AI apps. So first we need to understand the technicalities, where to use them. And first is how to draft a manuscript. Before even using an AI tool, it is very important for you to understand how to draft a manuscript, what is important in the manuscript, right? So let me first begin with the major thing, which is the manuscript writing. And simultaneously, I will also take up the AI tools where you would come to know that which AI tool is better and how it can be used and to what extent you can use that tool, right? Because these days, again, plagiarism is one of the major concern where nobody would like to, enter into that area, and where we have a plagiarized manuscript again, 100% or 90%, and then we again rewrite, which is itself a Herculean task. So let's first understand how to basically write a manuscript, right? So let's understand that. All right. So, okay. The protocol, Shreshi, if you could let me know, can I take the questions in between, or you would like to take me the questions towards the end of the...
Whatever you're comfortable. What we usually do is they put their questions in the chat box so that not to disturb your flow, and we address the questions at the end of the session. But we are open to whatever. If they have questions in between that really needs address, if you feel like that, we can do that as well.
All right.
Right.
Because I normally do.
Yeah, you can also make it like a slideshow so that the whole screen. Otherwise, this is also fine. But
Sure. I will do that. No problems. Okay. So the first and the foremost important thing when we start with the manuscript is what is a research question and what is the research gap. So we all know that, there are 4 types of research articles. We know that it's a qualitative, we know that it's a quantitative, it's a review paper, and then we have mixed method, and the 5th is the conceptual paper, right? So we are all acquainted with the types of the research papers. However, the most important thing which we really need to understand is what hooks the reader, what hooks the reader. Now, this hook step is nothing but how interesting is your topic, right? What is interesting and what is novel. Now, this novelty and this interest to the reader, it comes from the problem statement. What kind of problem are you going to address? So what happens is, whenever you are writing your introduction section, the first thing that comes to a reader is, what is the problem statement and what is the uh, business problem? Here, what you need to understand is you need to have a business problem first. For example, let's assume that we have something like, let's say, I would like to quote some examples from I might give you some examples from the management, because I am from management, though I have taken few examples from architecture also, and I've written them also. But in the meantime, I will start with some with the uh, architectural this thing. So let's take biophilic designs, right? Now, if we talk about these biophilic designs, and if you want to know how it has been introduced in the urban planning, now, the first thing which comes to a reader is, what is the problem with these biophilic designs and how are we going to solve these uh, problems
Um,
of these
um,
biophilic designs
Ma'am,
using
we
the,
are in slide 2. Is that where you are also?
no, I'm just on the slide 1. I'm just explaining what is a research question, where does it
Fine,
come
fine,
from, and where does the
fine,
problem needs to be hooked on.
fine, fine. No problem.
Right? So the first example which we're taking is biophilic designs, which are related to the urban planning. Now, for a reader, where do you have to inculcate this problem in the manuscript? Your introduction should ideally be of four to five paragraphs. It should not be more than 4 to 5 paragraphs. And once you finish your introduction section, it should get finished either with a research question or with a research objective. Now, what happens is, first paragraph, let's understand this problem from here. Here, the problem is different, but we'll talk about the biophilic designs here. Right? So the first paragraph is, what you need to write is, you work around your topic. What are the biophilic designs? Introduce the biophilic designs to a reader. Once you introduce that, now second paragraph would be, what has been done around that topic so far. So what has been done will be your second paragraph. And within subsequently, you will write about what has not been done about the biophilic designs. So what has been done becomes your second paragraph, and what has not been done will come towards the end of the second paragraph, right here.
Yeah.
So what has
Actually,
not been done?
ma'am, I think in the slides we can see the things that you're talking about, like types of research, but what we can see here is just the second slide with the research questions and gaps. So the participants are asking in the chat box, can we see the next slides also along with the explanation?
I'm showing the third slide only. Just a second. Let me just go by the normal this thing. I think when I do the slideshow, Microsoft Teams, I always face that problem.
Acha,
Can I just present
yeah.
in this mode, if that is
Yes,
okay?
yes, 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 yes.
If it is clear, all right.
Yeah. Now we can see actually the problem and the topic, and we were
Okay,
not able to see before. Yeah. Thank
all
you.
right. Okay, thank you. So, first paragraph. So I told you that there are going to be 3, 4, 5 paragraphs in the introduction section. So the first paragraph is, you need to talk about, need to work around your topic. So biophilic designs, you talk about that biophilic designs, what are biophilic designs and how are they related to other things and the area of concern, whatever you're making. In the second paragraph, you need to write what has been said about the biophilic designs. And when you end your second paragraph, you will talk about what has not been done about that biophilic design. So first is, you build around your topic, first thing. Second is how the topic has progressed over the last few years. Within this paragraph only, towards the end, you will write what has not been done about this topic. So what has not been done becomes your problem, right? So here you will highlight what are the potential problems related to the biophilic designs. Whatever the problems are there, how are these problems? Then this paragraph, fourth paragraph, will talk about how are these problems solved so far and what is still not solved about that particular problem, right? So ideally, third paragraph or the second paragraph towards the end, you will talk about the potential problem, whatever you're highlighting. Now that is your business problem. That is not going to be your academic problem which you're going to highlight. That is going to be your business problem. So when you talk about the business problem, it is for a researcher to understand how you convert this business problem into an academic problem. Now, this academic problem is nothing but your research problem, right? Which you call problem statement in thesis and which you call research problem in your manuscript writing. So this research problem, whatever you're highlighting in the third paragraph, here you will talk about how are these problems solved so far, right? Whatever the problem is, how it has been solved so far, and what is still not solved. So what is still not solved will become your research problem. So understand what you're doing is you are converting business problem into a research problem. This business problem is from an industry, right? Is coming from an industry, and this industry problem you will convert it into research problem by looking at the business problem in the literature, that how it has been solved and what is it which has not been solved, right? So that becomes your research problem, and this research problem you will convert it into your objectives or the research questions. I hope this process is clear. Let me just take you again through the process. Let me just add one more slide. So we have a business problem. We convert this business problem into a research problem. Now this research problem will have its own research questions or its research objectives. Now, whatever the research questions or objectives you have, you may have a single objective, you may have two objectives, you may have three research questions or objectives. Now, once you finish writing your objective, here in the next paragraph, you will talk about how this is important or significant to a industry or academia. That means why it is important to solve this problem. If you agree that it is important to solve this problem, that means you are contributing something, right? So that will contribute to the literature. Now, this contribution, when you're saying that how it is contributing, now please understand, whenever you're writing an introduction section must be linked to the literature review section, must be linked to your RM section, must be linked to your analysis and your discussion section. Now see how. You in the third or fourth paragraph, you've already written your objectives. Next, once you are finished with your research questions or the objectives, you write that why this problem is significant, right? Why it is important to solve this problem. When you write this, then you say how you are going to solve this problem, right? How you're going to solve this problem. When you say how you're going to solve the problem, you're talking about the RM, right? And when you write here before the research questions that what is the business problem and how you're converting this business problem into a research problem, here what has been done around that problem, you are talking about the LR part, which you have talked about it, but prior to writing your research questions, right? Then once you finish your research questions and objectives, you have your RM section where it says that this is how I'm going to solve the problem, which could be qualitative, which could be quantitative, which could be a mixed method, or could be a review paper, right? So here you say you just have to add one or two lines. You may not have to write the full paragraph on the research method. What exactly are you going to do? You will just say that this will be done through a qualitative method or an exploratory research design using semi-structured interviews collected from whatever your sample is. That is it. Explanation of all these things will be carried forward to the RM section, right? So once it is done, then you will talk about how it is going to contribute. When you solve this problem, how it is going to contribution. So that contribution part will be linked to your discussion section and your implication part, right? So you've understood introduction will be linked to RM, will be linked to RM, LR, RM, then your discussions and your findings. All these things mention all, however you are doing, whatever you are doing, all the introduction concepts of these four headings should be introduced in the introduction section, whether you're writing a thesis, whether you're writing a introduction section of the manuscript. I hope this is clear that what is an introduction section. Now here I'm introducing you one tool. There are 2-3 tools which I would be telling you, but the most important two things which I need to tell you is research questions. I may introduce you to some tools which are paid and may not be available to you as a free tool to use. However, I'll introduce you. If you find that tool is interesting, you may later buy them if you want it. But these are some good tools where you would get a lot of research questions and some writing help also. Okay, so let me just take you to some tools now. The first very obvious tool is, it's not chat GPT, it is chatbot app.ai, which has a blend of chatbot, chat bot. Yes.
Ma'am, we are actually still seeing the PPT window. I think you have to share your whole
I
screen.
have already shared the full screen. I don't know why it is like that.
Yeah, you can close this and maybe share the whole screen, then we'll be able to see.
Can you see now?
No, we are still seeing the PPT thing. You can just close this maybe once and then open the whole
I have
thing.
already closed that. I don't know what's the problem. Now, because to me it is saying that sharing this tab.
I can only see the PPT.
I'm showing the other thing. I don't know how I now.
Actually, this PPT actually never closed down for us. I think everybody else can also see the PPT, right?
Can somebody confirm, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, we're all seeing the PPT.
Can you see the slide
Yeah.
only?
Hmm. Now,
I think while sharing, she has to share the entire screen. Then those windows will
I'm
open.
sharing the entire screen. I'm sharing the entire screen only. Because
Yeah.
Yes.
now also now
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sharing the entire screen only.
Ask her to select this one.
Yeah. Ma'am, first you stop sharing everything and then go to the share button, and then there's an option which just says screen. You can just click the screen option instead of the window option.
I try once again, but I followed the same thing.
Yeah. First, ma'am, you stop sharing because the screen is still there.
Entire screen will show something else to you. See now, if I'm sharing entire screen, what do you see? Now you will see your this thing only.
The screen has not moved. You have to stop sharing first.
I've
Huh.
stopped sharing. I'm not sharing PPT. I have rather closed it. I'll even close it.
Yeah.
What's the problem?
It's a presenter and put her back as a presenter.
There is no presenter thing. Everyone can present. So I've not made a.
Can you see the screen now?
We can. It's actually the old screen only with that we can see. The PPT screen, that is what is still seen.
I'm sharing my screen. I don't know why it is like that. Because I've been using Teams.
Yeah.
I've never faced this problem. Let me share once again. Let me stop sharing. Now, what do you see?
If the share thing is not moving, so should
Do you mind switching to Zoom platform? Should I share my this thing and then we can switch to Zoom? Will that be okay?
actually it is kind of linked to their registration, and it's they have all
No, if you have
can
any,
you can you just mm, can you just join back? I think that would solve this, and we'll only directly do a whole screen sharing instead of a window.
all right, I'll do that. Otherwise, in case if this problem doesn't get solved, and if you have any WhatsApp group, I'll share the Zoom link to you, and you can share with the
They
participants. The possibility
actually
of doing.
participants are from our other institution. We don't have a group. It is linked to their registration through the Gmail form.
No, they are here only. They're here only. I can share the
Yeah,
link here itself, and they can join
yeah. Uh,
if you
we'll
want.
just yeah, we just join back, ma'am, and we'll see if this works, and then yeah.
All right.
Ma'am, have you joined back? Yeah, now your screen has gone. So
What can you see now?
now your whole screen we can see. Now it is fine. Yeah. No, PowerPoint is not required. And now we can see the screen and you can move between things. Yes.
Now is this chatbot window
Yes.
visible?
Yes. 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 We can see that.
All right.
Yeah.
Take it.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So sorry for this, but take it. Okay. So now we have this chatbot API, app.ai, right? So what you need to do is you just have to chatbot app.ai. Just write that in the Chrome this thing, and just press on the continue. Just keep pressing continue for 3-4 times. It will show you something they can do, right? And once that whole step is over, it will take you to this, and you just skip that. Right? So you have this window now. Now you can see all the tools are clubbed here. ChatGPT 4, ChatGPT 3, 4.0, Google Gemini, and Claude. All these tools are clubbed in the one window. Whatever tool you want to use, you can use it from here itself. For example, if you want to use Claude, you can just click on the Claude. If you want to use Google Gemini, you can use it from here. You want to use ChatGPT 4, 4.0, ChatGPT 4 or ChatGPT 3.5. So whatever you want to do, you can just do it here, and you can just write your problem, whatever you want to write here, right? So now let's see. Suppose if you want to talk about biophilic designs, right? Benefits of using biophilic designs. So this will generate as it will generate. Now let's say we want to use Claude for the same thing. You go back to the home window, and now again you will have all these 5 options, and you can use Claude from here itself. And you just write here, generate research questions related to biophilic designs and urban planning, right? So it is not generating because it is going to be it is asking you to upgrade, right? Where you will not probably get this option. That's what I showed you, that in case if you want to have some research questions particular to your this thing, you might have to upgrade. So at this point of time, it is not very expensive. It is just for $20 for a month. And if you're working on something, you can always buy from here. But in case if you just want to generate anything which is related to this, you can relate. And similarly, you can also do it on the chat GPT. If you just want to say biophilic designs, it will generate. It will not show any problem to you. See, it has crossed my limit probably, so it is not generating, but it is one tool where you get all these 5 things. And I'll tell you one more thing here. The Claude is better than ChatGPT 3.5 and 4. 4.0 is the mini version, which gives you certain types of research questions, but again, it does not have that large language models, which might create some problem when you are working on that. So I would suggest here, in case if you're working on a project, you can just upgrade yourself and you can start working on all these 5 tools in the one this thing, right? Another tool which you want to understand is the Jenny.ai. Now, just go to Jenny.ai and write. So this is also a free tool. Just go here and go to your new document. Suppose start writing a new document, and it will ask you what exactly do you want. We'll again say biophilic designs and urban planning, right? And start writing. So this Jenny.ai will generate some introductory lines for you. You see if these lines are helpful to you. You can always use these lines. Otherwise, if you want that these lines are not good enough, which are using your introduction, you can just say try again. So once it tries, it gives you another thing, right? And if you want to accept, and if you feel that this is okay, you just accept. And once you accept it, it will again start generating the new lines for you. And if you again want to say accept, just accept. Now, if you look at the bottom here, bottom screen, there are 2-3 options which are given here. You can see here the cite button, right? Suppose if we want that, obviously this needs to be cited here. And let's say I say cite, and I want Jenny to add the citation. So just click on the cite, and it will show you few options from where you can take the citation. Can you see? All the citations are here. Now you can look at whatever the citation which you feel is relevant, because it is talking about the biophilic designs and the concept. So maybe this, suppose if this is, you feel that this is good, you can just say cite. And once you say cite, you can see that it is already written here, right? Can you see here, right? Similarly, if you accept that, you just accept. Now, suppose if you don't want, if you want something specific, which you want AI to generate something for you. See, it is saying free word limit exceeded, you will receive 200 more words. So we'll do it in 200 words. You can see these 2 buttons here. If I click on this plus button, it is showing me that if you want to add some heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, we can always have a head added in the text itself. I'm not doing it just because my word limit will get exhausted. So I'm not adding it, but you can generate it from here itself. Right? And you can look at these buttons, these 6 dots, just click here now and click on this AI commands. Suppose if you want AI to talk about the specific problem or the business problem which people are facing. So what you can do here is free word limit exceeded, please upgrade. So whatever it is, you can just, I have been using it. That is why it is not possible for me to show you, but you can just write your command here and you can just write whatever, you want to generate, or whatever research question you want to generate, that can be done. I will show you by, let me just go back and log in with some other thing. I'll log in. Let me start. I think it is free. It is taking me. I have to sign out, I think. So it is not giving me, because then I have to sign out. So maybe if I sign out, let me just sign out and log in again. So I log out and I log in with my other Google ID. Let me just log in and show it to you. So I have this document. I'm generating a new document here. Same way, biophilic designs. So I'm starting with the prompt itself. Right, so I'm not accepting it and I'm just pressing here, and you can see this AI command button. So I will just press here and I will write generate research questions related to the problem of biophilic designs, right? And I say enter. So can you see the research questions have been generated? What are the key challenges in implementing biophilic design principles in urban environments? How can biophilic designs be effectively integrated into commercial and residential building projects? What are the measurable health and well-being? So if you want, you can just keep this. In case if you feel that these are not okay with you, you replace the selection. And now we have again, if you want few more, you accept this, right? And otherwise, in case if you want some other thing to be repeated, you can just add, give few more alternatives. Because see, suppose if you're working in the free this thing, right? So what you can do is don't accept it. What you can do is just, it can be copied. You just copy it and paste it onto your Word document. So it will not consider these words as written. Right, that is another trick which you can use. And similarly from here, give new alternatives and press enter. See, otherwise it will keep counting you. If you consider those the previous ones, then it will be a part of your 200 or 1000 words which it gives you for free. So you don't accept that, and then you can have as many research questions as you want. So it is giving you the research questions. You pick up any research question. Now what happens is you've got, this is the first part of the manuscript writing. The first thing is you need to have a business problem. You need to have a business problem. Now, this business problem needs to be converted into a research problem through the research questions. So once you have the research questions, either you have it from yourself by reading the literature, or you ask any chat GPT or any app from AI tools or any AI tools that they can generate it for you. So once you have these research questions, now these research questions, you take them into the Word document or you export. How you can do that? You can just go to the export from here, and you can export them as a LaTeX file, you can export them as a Word file, or you just copy to clipboard. You can export it. So you have it here in the Word document. So this is the first tool where it will help you in writing. But here again, I will suggest, even if it is giving you a citation, please be very smart when you're using the citations which are being generated by the AI tools. These are not, you really have to check the reliability of these AI tools. They may be good, they may not be good. So you, whatever the citation is being given to you by them, you need to check them and go to that paper and see whether it is there or not. Right? So let's go back to the can you see my PPT now?
Yes, we can. Yeah, the whole screen is visible, so it's okay. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So we were talking about the first section. So this is how we work on the first section of the paper. So I've already told you an effective introduction. So what is it answering? If you look at this PPT, it says who cares, who's going to be the reader, who's going to get benefited when you solve that problem, right? Why is this interesting and important in theory and practice? That should also be a part of your introduction section. Introduction is linked to an LR. Now, what do we know and what we don't know? And what we don't know becomes your problem, right? And how the problem has been solved, that becomes your research questions. Okay. So this is what we do. And what will we learn? If we solve this problem, what are we going to learn, and how does your study fundamentally change, challenge, or advance scholars' understanding? This is one of the most effective way of writing an introduction section. Otherwise, I would suggest you go to these AMG series of writing a manuscript. They have started with the first paper where they have set the hook. Then they tell you how to write a literature review. Then what should be there in the RM section. All these papers. There is an AMG series, and it is available on Scholar Google, and you can easily read them. In case if you're not able to find those articles, you can always come back to me, or I will share it with Swashi, and she can further share it with you. Right? Okay. Next section, which is the most important and makes most of us very uh, you know keep thinking and our brain tickling, that what exactly do we need to write in the literature review section. Now this again needs a thorough understanding. What exactly do we need to write when we are writing a literature review section? Let me just first talk about it now. We all know that we've got qualitative paper, we have got quantitative paper, and we have got review paper. I'm not going to talk about the mixed method here. I'll talk about these three papers, and I'll try to tell you the difference between when we are writing a qualitative paper, quant paper, and a review paper, how the sections are different when we are doing. In qualitative, we all know that it is an exploratory study, right? Quantitative is a descriptive research design. And review paper could be an SLR paper, could be a bibliometric paper, and could be a meta paper. Okay. Now, when you are writing a qualitative paper, in a qualitative paper, when you write, you normally follow a inductive approach. I am going to talk about what is an inductive approach and what is a deductive approach. When you write a quantitative paper, we use deductive approach. And here we do not have neither inductive nor deductive approach. Now let's first understand what is an inductive and what is a deductive approach. We use this in quali and we use this in quantitative paper. And we are going to talk about the LR section, which is the second section of our thesis or research article. Inductive means I'm exploring, right? I don't know what is going to be in my findings. I do not know much about my problem, but I only know that this problem exists. So we go for an exploration method. And how do we explore? When we explore the things or a business problem or a research problem, we are not aware of the aware of what the variables, right? However, in the quantitative section, when we use a deductive approach, what we do is we have a business problem and we try to look at a theory which can help us in actually solving that problem. For example, the technological adoption. So we all know that in technological adoption, we use TAM or UTOUT models, right? In order to understand the behavior of the people, we use TBP, theory of planned behavior. So what do we do whenever we want to see that, yes, people are adopting those environmental, they have environmental concerns, and but are they adopting those environmental these policies to have a good environment, right? So whether they're adopting on that behavior or not, and we already have the variables in place. We have already the variables in place, which could be, and we can say that A, B, C variables, it leads to such type of adoption of environmental friendly behavior. Right? People adopt all those kind of practices. So we have these variables in place, and we might have some moderating or some mediating variable which is already set in the place. So what we have a business problem, and we look at the theory theoretical framework from the literature which can be used in the quantitative articles, right? So when we have those theory, and next is we have the findings, and we generalize these findings on the population, means on the sample whatever we are considering. However, in the qualitative articles, we are not aware of the variables most of the times. That is why we take a qualitative approach, right? We are not aware of the variables, that what could solve the problem. For example, if we talk about, let's say, um, mm, there is a thing, reuse of heritage in your this thing. Let's say reuse of heritage buildings, right? Now, this has an environmental concern. We would like to reuse them. Now, there was a stage when they were taken for some changes. Then when the changes were being made, and the third stage could be when this is a project ready. So there could be 3 to 4 phases in the reuse of the heritage buildings. Now, we don't know what kind of variables or what kind of concerns could be there in phase 1, could be concerned in phase 2 or the phase 3. So we try to identify the variables. And there is also a possibility that the variables which are present in the phase 1, they may be also present in phase 2 along with some other variables, and in the third phase when the project is ready, there could be some new variables along with the variables which are there in the stage 1 and 2. So what I'm trying to convey here is, when we follow an inductive approach, we do not have any theory in place, right? So we try to identify certain variables by going in depth by interviews, taking the interviews, and then identifying the variables, and in the next stage we establish the relationship between these variables. So when we establish the relationship between the variables, what exactly we are doing is we're trying to develop some theoretical framework, or we can say we are developing some conceptual framework. And whenever we are generating this conceptual framework, we are not testing it because it is a qualitative study. So whatever the conceptual framework we have got, we can only propose. We can have only propositions which can further be tested only in the quantitative phase, not in the qualitative phase. So the difference between the inductive and the deductive approach is, you start with observations here and you end with the theory here. And then this, whatever framework you are getting here, will be only be applied to the sample from where you have collected the data. However, in the deductive approach, you already have a theory in place. You test the theory, and whatever findings you have, you apply it to the sample and you generalize it to the population. However, in this case, when you have a qualitative paper, you cannot apply it onto the whole of the population because the sample size, whenever you're doing a qualitative study, is very, very small. Right? The sample size is very, very small. So when you're writing the literature review section, what you need to take care of is for a qualitative article, when you're writing an LR section, you may write more about that particular phenomenon in the LR section. You write more about that particular phenomenon in the literature review section, that what exactly is the status of that particular phenomenon. However, in quantitative, you may introduce or you may not introduce any theoretical framework or the theories in the LR section. There is also a possibility that you may use a theory in the qualitative section. But in case if you're using a theory, that means you already have the variables in place. So if you already have the variables in place and you don't want to add any other thing, there is no point that you go ahead with a qualitative paper, because qualitative paper is all about exploration. So I will suggest here, even if you are using any theory here, you always try to say that this is the closest theory which can help us in solving a particular phenomenon. However, this theory does not explain the complete phenomenon due to some environmental changes. For example, the COVID has happened. Post-COVID, the changes have taken place. People are becoming more concerned about the environment. Their behavior has changed. Consumer behavior has changed. Something has changed, right? So that is why this theory is now not applicable. However, there are few points or there are few concepts which may be applicable. And how would you know that whether those the theoretical framework variables will be used or will be of any use to us or not can only be identified by understanding people's behavior, which can be collected through interviews. This is what you have to elaborate on. That is, you have to talk about that why this particular theory, which was earlier used to explain the particular behavior, cannot be now used. Cannot be used because of whatever reasons you have. That is why you're conducting a qualitative study. However, you can always talk about those variables which have been used. Is this clear? After this, I'll talk about the review papers, how to talk about the business problem in the review papers, and how to talk about why and when an LR should be conducted. And then we will talk about certain tools which can be used in the LR. Any questions so far related to the theoretical framework or the conceptual framework and anything related to the introduction or the LR section? I would be happy to take your questions here.
Oh, you can unmute yourself and ask the questions, or you can put it in the chat box.
Is there anything which I can help you with? Okay, so let me move ahead. All right. So let's talk about the next thing which is important is SLR. I have already told about the introduction section, which remains the same even for the review paper. You have to start with the business problem. You start talking about the research questions. However, the research questions in the SLR is, I hope everybody understands what is a systematic literature review, or you want me to tell you something about systematic literature review, so that, because in case if you don't know what a systematic literature review, then it would be difficult to get a hang of it. Just put it in the chat box whether you want me to. If you know, then I will not dwell upon it. If you are not aware.
Sorry to pitch in, ma'am. I think it's better to just a glimpse about what is that. Maybe we can confirm it whether whatever our understanding is right or something like that. Can you go for a first glimpse about it, ma'am? Thank you.
Sure, sure. See, SLR is systematic literature review. Now, as the word goes, systematic. Now, this systematic means whenever you are collecting your literature in a very, very systematic way. Now, the systematic means that you follow certain frameworks. For example, there is a Prisma framework which is followed. There is a SPAR framework which is being followed to collect the articles. So how do we basically do a systematic literature review? We go to the literature and now, for example, here, if your topic is biophilic designs, right? So you will, or let's say if it is, let me take a simple example here. Let's say work-life balance. Now we all know that this is a saturated topic, right? So there will be a lot of papers on work-life balance. So which papers to include for a review and which papers to exclude for a review, right? So what do? This work-life balance is also known as work-life interference. It is also known as personal work balance, right? And there are some other words which are related to it. So what do is we actually go to either any of the databases which are available, like Scholar Google, Scopus, or Web of Science, and we try to identify by writing these keywords. We always have the keywords to it. So if I take you to the Googles, let me just take you to just Scholar Google here. And just let me, my screen is visible to you, right? Please let me know, because now I'm showing you the Scholar Google.
Yes, it's visible.
So let me just work-life balance, right? So what do? I say work-life balance, because now I am trying to look at the synonyms of work-life balance. So what I do is I also know that it is known as work-life conflict. So I am trying, so it is not a case sensitive, so don't worry about even if it is capital or this thing. I say right, and I say work, I put a hyphen here, work-life balance, right? So now if you look here, I'm just taking a simple search here. Can you see how many articles are there? It is about 18,600 articles. So it is not possible for me to do the literature review of 18,600 articles. And one more thing I would like to show you here. Suppose if I don't write this in double quotes, I have written this in double quotes. Suppose if I don't write it in double quotes and I simply say, I want to do a literature review on work-life balance. So I simply say, just click. Can you see how many articles are there? I'm getting 63 lakhs 80,000 articles. So again, it is not possible for me to do the review of 63 lakh articles. Not humanly possible. That is why we need to narrow down our research. And how do we narrow it down? We try to put, see, I'm not just doing anything. I'm just putting this double quotes. Now, how this Google Scholar will read it? This Google Scholar will read it only as work-life balance. Otherwise, what it was doing, it was also picking work. Anywhere the work is mentioned in an article, it will pick up. Anywhere where life is mentioned, it will pick up. Balance is mentioned, it will pick up. So I don't want that thing to happen. So I'm just now pressing here. Right? Can you see how many articles? Though they are still high, it's 5,71,000, but this has been reduced now from 63 lakhs to 5,71,000. So what I do is I put here synonyms here, because now I want that only whatever is very, very typical to my research, I would like to search that. So I put an hyphen here because I know work life is also written as work hyphen life, and I say balance, right? So I'm just putting double quotes here, and I am putting one more. It is also been studied as work life interference, or let's say by work life conflict. I'm just taking 2, 3, not more than that, right? So just see. So now I'm getting only 18,600 articles. Now here, what do we do when we do a systematic literature review? The agenda is to review only those articles which talk about work-life balance. But here again, not humanly possible to review 18,600 articles, right? So whatever I have added this, if you could see this or in between, this or is called a Boolean operator. We use this whenever we are using synonyms. Now, suppose if I am using and as a Boolean operator, and I say, let's see how work-life balance is related to performance, right? Now, this performance could be employee performance. So I can talk about employee performance, right? And I'm taking it again in the double quotes. And now I want to study this. So now any paper with whatever I have here will talk about work-life balance and employee performance. Work-life balance and employee performance, work-life balance and employee performance. Now, look here. When we do a systematic literature review, we normally follow a certain guidelines, right? So when we, what are these guidelines which needs to be followed? I'm just coming to this review again. What do we do? How many articles were there? there were 18,600 articles. Systematic literature review means reviewing the articles related to your particular topic, reviewing all those articles. But humanly, it is not possible. So what do we do in a process? We say systematic literature reviews. We adopt a systematic literature review method so that we reduce this number to just, let's say, maybe 100, maybe 200, or maybe 300, which is humanly possible for us to do a review. I hope now this is clear what is a systematic literature review. So how do we basically do that? Now let me just show you one paper here, that how do we basically do this. Let me just take you to one of my papers. Just give me 2 minutes. I'm just opening it. So can you see this paper, Mapping Sustainability Practices in the Healthcare Sector? Is it visible? Kindly confirm.
Yes, it's visible, ma'am. Yeah.
Okay. So now look at the systematic literature review paper. How do we basically do it? I told you that we have to bring down a certain number. It is in thousands and it could be in the lakhs. We need to bring it down to hundreds so that it is manually possible for us to review. So what is the process which we follow? Now look at the first step here. This says identification. Identification of what? Identification of the articles. How many articles are we going to take for review? For example, there were 18,600 articles in the first scope, right? So what do? We download whatever articles we select. First is we need to select the articles which are let's say following some quality criteria. Now this from 18,600 we need to download the articles which are either listed in ABDC list or they are in the ABS list of journals or they are Q1, Q2 or in the Q3 or Q4. These could be certain criteria which we adopt to filter these articles, and we can also have a criteria of impact factor greater than 1 or 2. Now, humanly, again, if we have 18,600 articles, it is not possible for us to do review. So what do? Here we take the help of Rapid Journal Quality 2. Rapid Journal Quality 2. I'll show you how it works. Let me take you to the screen now again. Now, can you see my screen here? Can you see this Q3, QC, C plus? If I go down, you will see all these ratings here, Q2B plus work-life balance and integrated review, Q2, Q1A, Q1A, right? So these are certain parameters. These are some quality criteria which are attached to the paper. On the basis of this, we can select that article. Suppose if we are adopting that, we want to only include the articles which are there in the ABDC criteria. So what do? I'm sharing this link with you in the chat window. You can just, this tool. If I click here, can you see this tool here? Rapid Journal Quality Check. Let me open another screen for you. Rapid Journal Quality Check. Can you see here? Rapid Journal Quality Check. It is available in the Chrome Web Store. Just do that. I already have it. That is why it is showing me remove from Chrome. If you're working with me, I will write it in the chat window also for you. Rapid journal quality check. Rapid journal quality check. So I've sent the name. Just add it to the Chrome. So the moment it gets added, you can see this button here in the Chrome extension. Just click here and pin it. Just pin it. Can you see that I have pinned it? If I unpin it, you can see that it gets removed from my bar, right? If I pin it again here, it gets pinned here. Can you see this funnel type of button in the Chrome bar, right? So it will get added in your Chrome extension bar. So the moment you get it added, so whenever you open the Scholar Google, it will start showing you things like that. Let me just take you again. Can you see? Now, if you just highlight here, just bring a cursor here, you can see that it is giving you a rating Q3. Q3 means Scopus has got 4 quartiles, Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4. So this paper is indexed in Q3. So if you want that, if your quality criteria is something that you want to select a paper for a review, which is Scopus indexed or which is Q1 or Q2, what you can do is you can just select the paper and save it in the library. So how do you do that? See, can you see this button save? Just press this button save. The moment you press this, it will ask you save to my library. Now suppose this is a new library which I'm creating, right? And I say create new, right? And I just mention it as work-life balance, right? And I say done. So now this article has got saved. And let me save few more and show you this library. And now you press, suppose if I want to save this also and it is falling to my category. So I will press this button, work-life balance, and done. So I'm saving this Q2 one also because it is again Scopus index. I want to take this paper also. So I'll say done. Similarly, this is A. This A means that this is an ABDC paper. Can you see here? The journal name is also coming, the International Journal of Human Resource Management. H index is what? SGR Q1, ABDC A category, and it is not a part of the FT50. These are the things which I have highlighted, right? You can do it as per your this thing. If you click here, rapid journal quality check, it will open all these parameters for you, right? I have selected ABDC. You can also select ABS if you want. You can select BFI, whatever you want, right? So you can select, I have only selected ABDC, ABS, and Scopus, SGR, right? So you can just make your settings according to whatever you are looking for. And you can keep saving your articles. See, it is getting saved, but it's just that you have to save your article one by one. Now this is saved. Now you look here, you go to your My Library now, right? And you have this list here, whatever you want to save the articles. Even if you do not have Scopus and even if you do not have Web of Science where you can save your articles, Google Scholar allows you to save the articles, right? So you go to work-life balance. So these are the articles which I saved. If you remember, I saved 4 articles and these are. Now you can also export these articles from here, right? Can you see here, export all? You can export it in the form of BibTeX, EndNote, RefMan, and CSV. Once you take them from CSV, this CSV file can also be used for bibliometric analysis further in Foursquare or BiblioShiny, whatever you want to use, right? This is one of the most useful thing which you can do in the Google Scholar, and this is absolutely free, right? So you do not need to have a Scopus or Web of Science for doing bibliometric. However, again, a note of caution, this is a free database. Anything which is free, you might have some problem while running it. Problem in the sense that there could be some information which might not be complete. For example, let's say H index might not be there, or maybe reference list is not complete or something like that. So that those problems could be there. However, it's Not always the case, but I'm just warning you because that could be a case also. You can also have a BibTeX file, EndNote file, RefPan, and all these further can be used further. If you're saving in the Google Scholar, you can directly import it into your Zotero or Mendeley also, which is again free, right? This is one of the best use of Google Scholar which you can do. Okay, so taking back to this thing now. So we have applied some quality criteria here. So after applying certain quality criteria, suppose from 18,600, we are also looking at certain disciplines, right? So when we look at certain disciplines, suppose we look at the business and management discipline, or you look at only the architecture thing, right? So what happens is from 18,600, let's say we are only left with 2,600 articles. The first criteria which you have to apply, even before applying the quality criteria, is your business management discipline or whatever discipline you are from. If you're from a medicine, if you're from an architecture, if you're from some urban planner, or if you are from some other engineering background, apply your discipline criteria first. So the moment you apply your discipline criteria, the number will drastically fall from thousands to maybe hundreds also, right? So if it will fall to, let's say, 2,000 or 2,600, now your team can now apply certain quality criteria, right? So now you apply certain criteria from this 2,600, rather this will come down to 700 or 800 only. So once you apply that filter, you apply these quality criteria, you apply quality criteria and you filter those, and you might have 200 to 300 articles towards the end. And you review these 200 to 300 articles. Now, when you review these 203 articles, earlier we used to do it manually, but now we have many LR tools which are available, where we can take the help of AI tools to review our articles, because when we do an SLR kind of a paper, it is very, very tedious, because we need to know about, look at the kind of the research questions which we undertake when we do the literature review. I'm just showing you some papers so that you are aware what I'm talking about. 1 minute. There's that paper. Yeah. So see, we started from, if you look at this, we started from 331 articles, right? We took 331 articles, then Web of Science 40, Emerald 65, Taylor and Francis. So all these were approximately 470 articles. And there were also a search time period, 1995 to 2000. That is another criteria which you can always put, right? Then you organize them. I'm not going to talk about detail about of SLR, because that's again another 2-3 hours process. But I'm taking you through this because we're talking of manuscript writing, and where we will be using the AI tools to get this data, right? So ultimately you put some quality criteria. If you can see here, it's A star and B category of ABDC journal. So from this 440 articles, we applied that criteria and we got them after applying this ABDC criteria, the list came down to article type included 79. From 400 articles, after applying all these criteria, 79 articles were included. And then finally, on these 79 articles, we have to answer the research questions. What are the types of research questions what we answer in SLR? Now look at these research questions, what we're answering. What do we know about sustainability practices in the healthcare sector? When we address this kind of a question in a review paper, we talk about it, as we talked about in the introduction section in the SLR, that what do we know about the topic? So what do we know means what kind of publication trend is there? Who are the authors, prolific authors? Which journals are publishing the most on sustainability practices, right? All these things. Then how do we know? Second question is, how do we know about the sustainability practices? How do we know means we always know about the sustainability practices. Whenever we want to know about the literature of any particular topic, we always rely on the theories, right? Theoretical framework. So how do we know means we have to refer to the theories. Which theories have been used to answer this complex phenomenon, to explore this particular phenomenon, right? Theories. Then what methods have been used? How do we know? We understand that we come to know about sustainability practices by applying these techniques. What techniques could be qualitative, quantitative, mixed method, or whatever methods or experimental studies or whatever we have applied, right? So how do we know? So in SLR, the first question which we always face is, what do we know about sustainability practices, which answers the publication trend, authors, journals, and all those things. Second question we normally come across is, how do we know? And how do we know means theories, methods, and the countries where the research has taken place. So where are the countries? It could be the developed countries, it could be the developing countries or underdeveloped countries, whatever it could be. So we answer, how do we know? So what our next question, if you see here, is what are the emerging themes and clusters in sustainability and healthcare? Emerging themes. Everybody is interested in knowing how the topic has evolved, right? If we talk about the sustainability practices, the sustainability came into picture the moment we talk about SDG goals, right? So earlier, though it was MDG was there, but then SDG was incorporated in 2015. Okay, so obviously our probably could be, or that we might restrict our themes from 2015 till 2024, and how this topic has evolved over the years from 2015 to 2024. What was the first thing which came into picture when we talked of sustainability practices? Then what was the next variable which came into picture, and how this topic has evolved, right? And where should the research in the domain? Every SLR or every review paper, please remember, should always end with future research directions. There is no paper on SLR which can be accepted by any good journal if the FRDs are not there. FRDs means future research directions. Now, why it is there? Why do we say that? Because whenever we are writing an SLR, I told you we assimilate a knowledge. So when you assimilate a knowledge, what are you doing? We are assimilating the theories which have been used in the past, right? We are assimilating the kind of research methods which have been used to explore that particular phenomenon. We also assimilate the knowledge on where the research has taken place, whether it has taken place in developed countries or developing countries. So what are we trying to identify? That these theories have been used, and there could be some theories which are rarely used, have been used in one paper or two paper, right? So the theories which are underused or which are not used maybe fully, so they have a potential to be used more. So we suggest a future research direction based on this. Which theories can be used more? Research methods. If you have used a qualitative method the most, or if you've used the quantitative method the most, obviously where would be the research gap? If you use the quantitative paper, that the gap would be that the qualitative studies have not been used, right? So what would be your FRD? That future research scholars should talk about the qualitative research, right? If it has been done in the developed country, you will suggest that research should be taken up in the developing countries, and you also identify the variables, that which variables have been studied and which variables have been linked, all those things, right? So when you write an LR section of qualitative paper, of a quantitative paper, or of a review paper, all these are different, right? So let me just introduce you to few tools here when we are writing an SLR paper. So here I'll introduce to some important tools which can be used. Okay, let's first talk about this sky space. I will just tell you how to, if you write here sky space, just write sky space AI. I will put it in the chat box also for you. Link, let me just Control C, and I'm putting it in the chat box. Right, so I have put it in the chat box also. Right, just go to this sky space and just say continue. Right, now you have already developed your research questions in the introduction section. Next is you want the answers to the research question and what has been done about, or what has so far what has been done around that particular research problem or the research question. For example, let's take any question from here. How does climate change impact biodiversity? Or let's say, let me just take this question only. How does climate change impact biodiversity? So I just have to log in. Let me just log in. For using these AI tools, you always have to log in. So, right? So how does, I'm just taking the first question. How does climate change impact biodiversity? It does not show. I'll just log out of this and use another ID. Yes. I'm just logging through my different ID. So I have just, if the same question, I have just clicked enter. Now you can see here that I have got answers. The question was, how does climate change impact biodiversity? So the answer I've got from 5 top papers. Can you see here? Answer from top 5 papers. Climate change significantly impacts biodiversity across this and this. All those things have been summarized here, right? Suppose if I want to understand some concept here, getting concepts and sources for this, it is finding some relevant papers. In the meantime, the moment it is just working on this, what you can do is you can also have this sky space Chrome extension. Just write sky space Chrome extension. You will have first link of sky space Chrome extension. Just press that. Sky space do hours of research in minutes. I already have it. That is why it is showing me remove from Chrome. You can just add it to the extension and you can see this extension here again. This one, sky space, just pin it. Right? I'll show you how this extension also works. In the meantime, I think, yeah. So now you look, it is still working. Okay. Now this is very useful when you are doing a systematic literature review. See here, it is giving me a concept. It is giving me the sources. Here, can you see? See, habitat loss. What is the source? Show all 3 sources. Changes in the specific region, specific species migration, climate change and extinction rates. All those concepts which I wanted to identify, it is giving me with citation. But again, a note of caution here, whenever you are using this, please check that whether these citations exist or not, right? Now, let's understand. Now, suppose if I want to do the literature review. Let's say, or let me go to the chat with PDF. So I'm uploading few PDFs here just to show you how it actually works. I'm just taking these 5 articles. I'm just writing the name here of this. Let's say this is, I'm just keeping the name Shalini here, and I say done. Okay, so this is one of my papers which I have just taken here. Suppose if I want to understand this paper, and you can see here I say generate give me the summary of research method used. So it will give me the summary of my complete paper, the RM which has been used. Can you see here? The research method employed in the study is primarily qualitative, focusing on an in-depth insights from attendees. Here are the key components: qualitative approach, in-depth semi-structured interviews, IDA framework used, saturation principle used, purposive sampling, and data analysis through thematic analysis, right? So all these things have been, and if we verify it also, so I know that I have used qualitative. So just to give you that whatever it has given, see, we have used IDA model, data collection through interviews, right? Also, suppose if I want to select, suppose if I want to understand this, what this map is, right? So what do we do? I just select the whole section here, right? And I say summarize this now. I've just selected that text and I want to summarize. So explain the text to me, or you summarize whatever you want, right? Let's say explain the text. So it is giving me, see, it is giving me what are the codes, grouping codes into categories, how this method has been adopted. This has already been explained here in the simple language, right? Now suppose if I select, I go to discussion section, let me see that. Suppose if I want to understand this, explain figure 6 concept map based on steep analysis. See, it has given me the description of steep framework involves 5 key dimensions, and it has explaining me the figure also, right? And it is suggesting me that what new questions you can ask from this paper. Now let's see. Suppose I want to get some related papers. I'll say get me some related papers. So it will give you some related papers related to the literature. So it is not generating the response here, but it can give you some related papers also. Okay. What else you can do is, let me say literature review of, I'm taking a simple topic, let's say urban planning, and or reuse of heritage buildings. Let's take reuse of heritage buildings. Now it has automatically given me some papers. You can see here at the bottom, towards the end, 10 papers have been given to me. Papers, title, this is the journal article. As I'm scrolling towards the right, you can see the insights. Now, if you look at this column, please watch my cursor. It is saying create or add columns. If I'm doing a literature review, and even if I'm not doing a systematic literature review, I'm just doing a simple literature review, because there also I would also like to know that what theories have been used, what people have talked about this particular topic. I would definitely like to know what methods have been used, right? So what I'll do is I'll say click here, methods used, and it will say create a new column. Suppose now I also want to understand what are the objectives in each paper. So I have this another column. I'll show you. And I also want to see what are the dependent variables which have been used, because I'm doing a systematic literature review or a normal review, independent variables. And let's say, what is the problem statement? Okay, so it does not give you more than 5 columns. Then in case if you want to go for more, you have to upgrade. But Skyspace, as far as my knowledge goes, it's one of the best AI tool which can be used for writing, can be used for paraphrasing, can be used for summarizing, can be used to understand the text, can be used for doing the literature review, normal literature review also, and a systematic literature review also. So let me just cancel it. Right now you see, I've got the insights. I can just cancel this insights and I can add any column of my interest. Let's see if I add column of, let's say, conclusions. I can always have that. See, methods used, qualitative method, right? Objectives of each and every paper. There might not be any dependent variables because it is a qualitative study. No independent variables. Conclusions, that's it, right? But if you go down, mixed method approach, thematic analysis, not giving me the dependent variables. Questionnaires यहाँ पर होना चाहिए, I think. Conclusions, but it gives you the dependent and the independent variables also, though it is not giving probably because most of the papers here are qualitative. Here are the comparative analysis. This is also qualitative, right? But see, all those things have been also. Suppose I'm not getting something, right? So what I can do is I'll go here and I'll go here. I can also add column of my interest. I want to know the sample. Who is the sample of my study? Because that is also very important for me when I'm doing a literature review. That also becomes very important. I would like to understand where the study has been conducted. Who are the samples? Who were the samples where the study was conducted? Because that would also give me an idea that I can conduct my study here on this sample or not, if it has been done or if it has not been done, or even if it has been done, to what extent those samples have been covered, right? So I add this, and here I can give the instructions also, that what kind of sample information do you want? You just want the gender of the population, or you can say you can identify whether it is a consumer or an employee, right? So let's see, you know, so it is, see, let's see if it generates. See, it does not provide anything related to this. consumer और उस पर नहीं है. However, you can change the, we see, now you need to understand when I'm writing a prompt here, you need to understand that your prompt should be very, very specific, and you should know how to write a prompt to make a tool understand. See, it is not catching in that way. So that means let's write another. I want a sample, but it is not giving me. Let me say, rather than writing a sample, I can write here gender of the, let's understand adaptive reuse practical. See, it will not give you because the topic is such where it will not be a consumer, neither it will be an employee. If you understand this, I'm just writing it haywire. See, if you understand the title, preliminary review of adaptive reuse practice for heritage building. So which heritage building? Probably I can take, you know? I'm just trying it blindly. Which heritage building it is talking about? Let's say, give me the name of heritage building used in the study. Let's see if it gives me that and create. Let's see, the heritage building used in the study is Kareli House. The heritage building is Nadi Heritage Building, right? Name. So you will have to see what kind of information will be possible to generate from that kind of a articles which you have selected. AI is just a tool. How you want to use it to your purpose, that will be based on your prompt. I will talk about the prompt engineering also towards the end, how to write the prompt. So this is one of the very effective way to understand your articles through Skyspace. Similar tool, which there is another tool which you can look is another is Elicit. This is also a very wonderful tool. However, this is a paid tool and it works similar to the Skyspace. I'm not going to talk about this here because then this will take a lot of time in making you understand. In that, then I have to miss other tools. So it works similar to Skyspace. You can try this elicit.com. I will just put it in the chat box for you so that you can understand and refer it later, right? elicit.com. Another tool which you need to understand is connected papers. And there is another tool which is samville.ai. These are some tools which I'm telling you, you can always use them. But again, my humble advice would be don't just rely on the AI tools. It is not a good practice to use the AI tools a lot. You should always look at the kind of the citations which they are generating, look at always the kind of information they are providing, because they are also based on the models, the previous models. So you will have to figure out whatever they're telling you, whatever the business problem they're identifying. The witness, the evidences have to be generated by you, right? So you look at that whether there is any evidence. Suppose if they have given you a problem that yes, there is a problem in an urban planning, they are capable of generating that problem. However, that evidence whether that problem exists or whether that problem does not exist has to be generated by human only. Look at the reports given by Deloitte, KPMG, or other government reports, some other statistical reports, whatever is there. Try to give the evidence from there rather than using the AI citations which have been given, right? Okay. So the next tool which I'm going to introduce is samville.ai is another tool which is you can use for writing. Let's talk about first Research Rabbit. I'm just putting it in the chat box for you. So just take that and I'm just okay. Now this tool is very, very interesting and it can connect with the Zotero also, right? So if you're using this tool, this is one of the most finest tools. This one and the connected papers. There are three tools which you can use to identify more literature. One is the Research Rabbit. Second, I'll put the notes in your this thing. Then second is connected papers. And another is lit maps. Right? These are 3 AI tools which can be used for doing literature review. So let's go one by one. More or less, they works in the similar pattern, but it's just that you should understand what the visualization says. So let's first understand first from the research rabbit. So I've already created a few these collections here, so that it is easy for you to understand. Like the first is CSR and SDG. If I just how you create them, I'll just let you know first. This is a new collection. If you notice here, it is just on the left hand side, top side, new collection. Let's say biophilic designs. Right? So I create that. So can you see here? If I click here, you'll see that there are no papers here. Right? So what you can do is you can add papers now. You just click here, add papers. If you know the title, just put the title here and import. Or if you have any RIS or BibTeX, I showed you how to generate a BibTeX from Google Scholar also. Even if you do not have Scopus or Web of Science, you can always generate it through Scholar Google. Don't worry. Your work should not get hampered even if you don't have any specific databases for your work. There are many tools now which can be used. Right? So and you can also import the Zotero collection. Just click here, import the Zotero collection. Right? See, I have just these 2 citations. If I say here, start syncing, enter the name of your new collection. Let's say if I have it from Zotero. So, and I say okay. So it will import the papers from, these are the papers. So, take it. Choose this, whatever paper. See, it is also suggesting you choose this paper does not have any no valid DOI. So it is suggesting that no DOI valid is available found in your Zotero. You still want to import it or not. Another is this paper. Choose this paper for sync. If you want to choose it one paper by paper, it is asking you whether you want to take it or not. See, you choose it, right? So it will take it. I'm choosing these papers. See, I'm choosing these papers. And it is also telling you all set. There were only 4 to 5 papers. All are getting except for I think 1 or 2. All set. Okay. See, can you see? Now my Zotero library is here. This. Can you see here? All these papers. Because one paper, it did not have DOI, so I did not take that paper. So these are the papers. Suppose if I click here on this paper, it is giving me a summary. Right? Can you see here the summary? And you can just scroll. Right? Another paper, this one. And you see the kind of, if I click here and I go to this paper, it is showing me the similar work. Now this paper is giving me similar kind. All these papers are on job satisfaction. So the similar work, it is showing me that there are 1,000 more papers available on the similar kind of work which you are already looking at. You want to look at them, you want to see how they are connected. So let's say if I say yes, similar work, right? So see, simultaneously, it is giving me all these things. You see here all these 1,075 articles, right? Even citations. Now look at the kind of network it has generated. Right? Can you see here? Now there are 2 things which you need to understand in the research rabbit. How do we do a literature review? Very important thing. One is you generate a network, right? How the works are connected to each other. Another is you're also interested in looking at the timelines. See here, the timelines. Can you see the papers are getting arranged along the timelines? 1982. Just if I hover over this, it is giving me this paper, and if I click here, it is giving me here this paper, right? I click here. See, it is giving me here. Can you see here? And the most beautiful part about this research rabbit is it also shows you how these research papers are connected. Can you see this? If I click here, it is showing me that this Dalla Ora paper has been cited by, or these two papers are linked. Can you see? If I click here, which papers are linked? See, I cannot see the linkage anywhere except for this paper. See, I clicked here. Can you see here? It is showing me how the literature is getting connected, right? Suppose now, if I look at any other work, let's say if there is something on wellness tourism, or let's say if there is something on masstige marketing, I have these papers, right? And similar work. There is no work on this. See, can you see trends in the evolution of masstige marketing? Can you see this AI tool is not able to identify the similar work, which actually tells you that there is no paper on the masstige marketing review which is giving me the trends. And this has been published in 2023. This is the recent paper. So that means you have a lot of scope if you look at this area. Similarly, if you masstige marketing is definitely a new area. However, what is new in that area and what is not in it is already a decade old or maybe 15 years old. But if you look at some similar concepts, or if you look at the methodologies which have been used in that area, are few which have not been used. Right, so you can see I just clicked here. It is not showing me any kind of work. So maybe this is giving me some hint that yes, I can pick up this. Right, look at this private label fashion brands. See, published work. I can go here and I can also look at the authors which have been. See, can you see that how this has been connected? And I can also go to the timelines. So you can zoom in, zoom out from here. And you can also look at these authors. See how how this author is connected. All these 57 authors, they're connected in obviously one paper because I've clicked on one paper only, connection between 37 authors. Can you see here? This is how a research rabbit works. Now, another is, let me show you to this one. This I will not use this. Let me use the connected papers. This is connectedpapers.com. Here again, let me go to. So similarly, now how this you have to read. You go to the connectedpapers.com. If you just let me just do it for you. So how does it build? You search by keywords. You search by paper title, DOI, or any other identifier. Let's say, let me search for by keywords only. I'm using the same thing, reuse of heritage buildings, build a graph. Okay. Now, this app is based on this AI tool is based on the seed paper. Now, what is a seed paper? Seed paper means that you have to select one paper based on which it will give you the literature review. It will give you how this particular paper is being connected to other seminal papers. So now the thing which you have to keep in mind while selecting a paper for connected papers is that look for a seminal paper, because the most cited paper or the most seminal paper, right? And then see what kind of literature it will be generating. Because if you select any, Tom, Dick, and Harry paper, then probably you will not get what exactly you're looking at, because then it will not be a good idea to use connected papers, because this is based on a seed paper. See, it has got 46 citations. Suppose if it did not have any citations, so what is the point of making the literature review on this, right? So here, 11 citations, 1 citation. Suppose if I make, let me show you the difference, how it works. If here are 46 citations, I take this as a seed paper. You've used 2 by 2 free graphs. And obviously, again, this is the free thing I'm using. So look here now. What you have to keep in mind here is when the size of the nodes represents the kind of citations which have been generated. Right? This is the seed paper. This seed paper is connected to other papers. How many papers were there? 46 or something, 48 papers were there, right? And all these papers have got further citations. Can you see? 238. This is one of the biggest node. Then this is bigger than this, 333. Look at the right hand side, the kind of information it is generating. And this is your seed paper, if you remember. You remember 46 citations, adaptive reuse of heritage buildings from a literature review to a model of practice. So this is your seed paper. Sorry. And see how this paper is connected to other articles. Can you see this? So node color represents your publishing year. Size of the nodes gives you the number of citations, and this in this connected papers, similar papers are clustered together, right? If they are written on one particular theme within that literature, also adaptive reuse, but probably this could be the possibility that there is one site which is common, which has been used by 2 or 3 papers. So they might have been clustered together. So can you see this cluster is coming here of this color, right? You can see here, right? See, and it is also giving you a timeline 2012 to 2024. So you can click here and just see whatever. See here, the ease part is that whatever node you click on, it will get opened on the right hand side. Wherever I'm clicking, you can see the paper on the, and you can simultaneously open the graph and open in the PDF from here also. See, I can open the PDF here. Just go here, and if you want to see, I can just open. Can you see here? Right? Okay. So another is lit maps. It is paid, but it also works in the similar manner. So let's again, if I reuse of heritage buildings, see, it is showing me adaptive use of heritage buildings. See, it is also giving me a bibliometric map here. Can you see? Most recently published with citations. Right? You can also import the articles. If you want to use file to upload or drag and drop, you can always use your Mendeley, Zotero or BibTeX or RIS files, whatever you've created, PubMed and everything. You can just import your files and you can create your maps here. Okay. So looking at the time constraint, so I have given you enough on the AI tools here and literature review. Now let me just take you to the next section, which is the research method section, how to write the research method section before I go ahead with it. Just now, research methods. What is important? For qualitative, quantitative, and essay. So when you're writing a qualitative paper, we all know what are the things which needs to be written in the RM section. The first is we talk about the research design. Then we talk about sampling. Then we talk about data collection. And then we talk about data analysis. Research design in qualitative is always exploratory. Here it is descriptive, which I have already told. Now, sampling is important in qualitative to understand. All qualitative articles use purposive sampling. All qualitative articles, they use purposive sampling combined with criterion sampling. Now, what is this purposive sampling and criterion sampling? What happens is in qualitative also you have a research question. So you always approach a sample with a purpose. And what is the purpose? To get an answer for your research question, right? So when you approach a respondent with a purpose in mind that you need an answer for this particular question, where you have a opportunity to trigger more uh, or dwell more upon the particular research question, that kind of sampling is known as a purposive sampling. And what is this criterion sampling? Now, for example, if I say in a qualitative research, I want to do a research on, let's say, work-life balance, and I am looking for work-life balance on a of disabled employees working in IT sector. So that means the first criteria is that person has to be disabled, right? Second criteria, I have to fix a scope on also. I cannot talk about all the disabled people, even a small disability. For example, even at times, just a small, suppose if somebody does not have an index finger, that will not be considered as a disability. So first, I need to define that what is the scope of my definition for disabled employees. Is it linked to hearing, physical disability, right? Or sight or something else, whatever. What kind of disability I'm going to talk about. Then what should be the age of that particular employee, right? What should be the education and what should be the experience. Why I have to put all these things? Because in qualitative samples, suppose if I don't put this criteria, I don't put a criteria of age, education, and experience, right? If I don't put a criteria, what kind of sample will I generate? I will definitely generate more than 300 to between 300 to 400, or even in thousands. If I talk about, let's say, IT industry, I'll generate thousands of employees who are disabled, right? But if I put a criteria and it is not possible for me to get a qualitative data, because in qualitative, how I'm going to collect the qualitative data? Through interviews only, right? So these interviews will be not possible. Interviews, I will not be able to conduct the interview. So what would I do? I have to put some criteria where the criteria could be age should be in the, let's say, 25 to 35 years. Education, all should be postgraduate or graduate, whatever. Experience, they should have minimum experience of 5 years, or let's say 5 to 10 years, some criteria. So this way, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to give a scope to my study, right? I'm trying to define a scope for my study, because the qualitative studies will only be applicable to what? A very small sample, and it cannot be generalized on the whole of population. Because if I'm doing it on TCS employees, for the people who are in the age group of 20 to 25, education, PG, experience 5 to 10 years. So my findings will only be applicable to that particular sample. I cannot say that any disabled employee of this age, this education, and this experience will have these findings. No, not at all. I cannot imply it on the whole of the IT sector, because I'm general, I cannot generalize. However, in the quantitative study, my sampling techniques are different, which could be random and non-random, which you already are aware of. Data collection is through the base of the survey design, maybe we are following, and data analysis is also a different technique. Here, the results are generalized on whole of the population. If I'm collecting sample from IT employees, so my findings will be applicable on all IT employees falling in that particular sample if I have given any criteria, if I've applied any criteria. However, in the qualitative, the case is not so. I hope it is clear. And in the research methods, specifically in the qualitative section, we follow a principle which is known as a saturation principle. Now, what is this saturation principle? Suppose qualitative, we all know that it is not possible for us to collect hundreds of interviews. So we normally collect, these days, the sample size of qualitative has also increased, because now people are getting more and more into the qualitative study. So the sample size for the qualitative could be 50, could be 100. And it could be just 15 also, because if suppose if you're working on an LGBT community, right? If you're working on any sample which is very rarely available, so obviously the sample size cannot be more. So those are actually accepted by an editor or by the reviewer, because the sample, the study which you have done is very, very limited, right? So saturation principle is, suppose if you're conducting interviews from 20 people, you think that you will be collecting sample from 20 people interviews. So at the 12th or 13th interview, you realize that whatever information you are generating is now getting repeated. Everybody is telling you the same thing about environmental concerns or whatever topic you are writing on. So right, so you say that my saturation was achieved at the 13th respondent. However, to confirm that there was no more information generated, or there is no more information getting generated, I conducted 2 to 3 more interviews, which confirmed that there was no potential information which was missed out. Therefore, I stopped my interviews at a sample or at a respondent number 15. So that number where you attain a saturation is 30, but your sample size is 15. Did you understand the difference between the saturation where you achieved the saturation was 13, but to confirm that yes, there is no further information achieved or received from the respondent, you still take 2 or 3 more interviews, and then your sample size becomes 15 or 16, right? So this is about the difference between when you write about the RM section and the RM of the quantitative. And the RM, when you are writing for a qualitative article, your context is very, very important. As you describe the sample in the quantitative, you will have to describe the sample in the qualitative also. That 20 sample, 20 respondents, what was their age, occupation, designation, income if you get, gender, or whatever information you have, because it is setting a precedence for that, yes, this is the kind of sample where your findings would be applicable. Clear? Okay. Now, the last part is of the this thing is data analysis. See, you can use the tools for introduction. You can use the tools for looking at the literature review, finding the literature review, writing the literature review, but still a note of caution, don't ask them to design your research methodologies. Don't ask them to design your, do the data analysis for you, right? However, they're capable, these tools are capable of generating the information for you. They're capable of generating even the data sets for you. But what kind of data sets they generate, what is the authenticity of that data set, what methods, how they have generated, because again, a big, big question mark, right? So a note of caution whenever you're doing, take the help only whenever you feel that for doing the literature review, I will say, yes, you must go ahead and take the help. Looking for the seminal papers, yes, you take the help. Looking for the literature, taking the notes for the SLR, where you would not like to, waste your time, because just, looking if they're able to generate the kind of theories which have been used in the past, go ahead, no harm in using that, right? So those all things can be used. Okay. So last is data analysis. Under qualitative and quantitative, you have grounded theory of thematic analysis, which is used the most. Quantitative, we all know what kind of tools are available. We can use for different quantitative to t-test, ANOVA, SEM, regression, multiple regression, depending upon LDA, whatever you want to use. So you explain it towards your findings again. And the last is discussions. Now, what is there in the discussion section? In the discussion section, what you have to write is whatever the findings you are generating from here, you will have to see what is consistent with the literature and what is not consistent with the literature. If your findings are consistent with the literature. How they are consistent, you must write. If they are not consistent with the literature, you have to give a reason why they are not consistent. The reason could be because of your sample, because of the geographic location, whatever the reason is, that is for you, for a researcher to figure out, right? So that is it from my side on how to write a manuscript. I'll just quickly take you through what uh, these AI tools cannot do for researchers. First is they cannot give you the original research ideas. That has to be generated by a researcher himself or person, right? Second is it cannot make some decisions for you based on your the kind of research methodology which you must use. That should be based on the kind of the research gap which has to be identified from by the scholar himself, right? It cannot interpret the complex data analysis. However, it can always interpret the small graphs, small interpretations, it can always do. But the kind of information what it generates again needs to be checked, right? It also cannot generate comprehensive literature reviews. It can only help you in generating the seminal papers for you. It can always show you how the papers are linked to each other. It can always show you how one paper has been cited, right? But again, to summarize their findings and things, you can use SkySpace to generate that LR table. But again, writing has to be done by you, right? There are many tools which are available, which I have also suggested, but you can always just ask them to design a template for you to write, right? They can suggest a template, but then you also bring some novel ideas how to improve that template. So be a smart worker, how to minimize your time when you are writing your manuscript and where to use and where not to use. So these are some few tips from my end for writing a manuscript. And I don't know whether the time allows or not. Otherwise, I would have shown you, taken you through qualitative, quantitative, and SLR manuscripts also. But I think I've already consumed most of your time. So you can always tell me. Another one more thing which I would like to tell you here is prompt engineering, which is important when you're using AI tools. For example, I'll tell you quickly here. So what should be the prompt structure? There are three things which you need to understand, three C's which are important, rather four C's which are important. First is the action verb, call to action, which means what kind of prompt are you saying? At times we tell AI tool to give me this, list of factors, identify the factors. So this is a lower order thinking skill for an AI tool. So you need to give the higher order thinking to um, action verb to the AI tool. For example, you can always look at these words: evaluate, examine, justify, critique, validate, prioritize. All these are higher order thinking verbs. So you must use that. Second is content, the kind of uh, concept which you want the AI tool to review. So tell the content. For example, rather than writing define consumer experience, you ask the AI tool to evaluate the consumer experience of the tourist who visited this place. So what you're doing is you are defining, action verb is very, very clear, evaluate. So AI tool will be able to think more rather than just say define or solve. Evaluation will give AI ask the tool to dig deeper, right? Ask the AI tool slowly and gradually. Don't give 4, 5 prompts in one go. Try to give the prompts in a very, very feeble way, simple prompts which an AI tool can understand. You can always set the prompts also by telling that you act like a researcher, act like an academician, things like that, which can also be set in the chat GPT so that it can, give you the answers based on that. Right. For example, if you look at this example, how if you are talking about define the risk attribution theory. So the content is risk attribution theory with respect to what? Investment behavior, which becomes your constructs of the SMEs in metro cities. So this is also correct. It is not wrong, but it is giving a lower order thinking prompt to an AI tool. When you talk about the mid-level, you say demonstrate. But when you say critically evaluate the findings, so at that level, you are, asking the AI tool to think deeper and dig deeper, right? So try to generate, look at the prompts which you should, look at what kind of higher order skills you are uh, prompting to give the answer, so that AI tool can give you the answer better, right? So that is it from my side. So this is what the structure looks like of a paper. And last is the project. So thank you. This is it from my side. I'm open to the any kind of questions if you have in mind. I can answer whatever related to any kind of qualitative, quantitative SLR review papers, any structure of a paper, any section of the paper which you want me to answer. I would be happy to answer that, or related to any AI tool which we have discussed. So thank you, everyone.
Oh, thank you, ma'am, for a very, very comprehensive overview of how to write a paper. We have a question in the chat box. Ketaki, madam, would you like to ask, or should I read it out? I'll just read out, okay? Is it appropriate to use AI tools for data analysis? If yes, which are the apt tools, especially the statistical tests?
I'm writing one name of the tool, Power Drill. You can check it out. It's a paid thing. I have given you the hint, but I will not suggest you to use note of caution again, because AI tools, you cannot rely on these AI tools. The what kind of, because if you ask them to, I'll give you a very, very simple example here. Suppose if you ask them to generate the data and just give you the regression outputs. Now the AI tool will not know that for regression, you need to check the normality. And then there are certain assumptions of normality. So how would you expect an AI tool to first give you the check the assumptions of the normality, all the 4-5 assumptions, and then will generate. However, if you ask the AI tool to give you the output, it will. But again, the basics which you need to report in the paper or in the thesis will be absent. So again, the question mark would be there. So, but you can check. This tool is good. I will not say that it is not good. You can always check. Which other tools other than AI could be used for this purpose? There are many tools. Which software would you like to use for qualitative, or Ketaki for qualitative or quantitative? I can give you any number of quantitative. There is PLS, then there is a MOS, then you can use SPSS. There are many tools which you can use. I'll write it for you in the chat box. For qualitative, I can give you NVivo, Max QDA, and Atlas T. Then it's QDA. There are many. See, these are all paid. Yes, these are all paid. All good work is paid. So you can get some, free 14 days trial version, which you can use for all these softwares for SPSS 1 month trial, MOS 14 days, PLS also 14 days. Similarly for NVivo, Max QD, Atlas T, 14 days trial is available for all. But you keep looking for these days, many workshops are there which give you free softwares for at least 1 month or 2 months. So whenever you're working on a research project, just try enrolling and get that software. Even if you want to learn, that's the best thing, because otherwise it becomes expensive for you to buy and then use everything. But yes. Thank you, Kit.
Participants can unmute themselves and ask the questions, please.
Diti, are you saying something? I think, but your voice is not audible. I think she's trying to say something, but okay.
Hello.
Any specific? Yes.
Yeah, ma'am, I just wanted to know, like you rightly mentioned, we are not, it is not suggested to use AI tools for data analysis of quantitative data. But for me right now, I'm analyzing the weather data. So the size of that data is too much, which is not getting handled by SPSS.
How
So
much
in
is the
case,
data? How much is the data?
ma'am, it's a 62 days data at 5 minutes interval, which I have logged with the help of data loggers.
Hmm.
And uh, one of my friends was actually using SPSS, so they suggested me that it will not be handled by SPSS. So they suggested me to go for the tools like the softwares like Python coding or thing.
Python or R? Python will be the best thing to use.
Right, right. So the Python is a coding software, which might not
Yeah.
have very friendly interface when I am really starting with it. So I was looking for AI tool help actually.
No, you will not get a good help. So don't look for it.
Okay, so it
It
is
is better than
advisable to
logic.
go for then coding in that case.
You can use R also. In case if you
Ah,
find,
okay,
yes, either R or Python will be the best thing to use.
okay. Oh, thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah. Amit, you have asked any specific data extraction tool for SLR? Yes, Skyspace and Elicit. These are the two AI tools, and there is no harm in using this for SLR. That's an open this thing. Because see, you have to save your time, and you are not going to generate that in your transcript or in your manuscript. Because further you have to analyze that Excel. You can generate it if that is the most tedious thing when we do for SLR. We make a complete, if I show you the SLR, the kind of SLR I work on. So it is like, let me, I don't have it right away with me because my system got crashed and I'm working on other system. Otherwise, I would have showed you. It has got at least 60 to 70 columns and there are almost 200 papers. So if AI tool is there to help me, then it is like a gift to me, right? So I prefer doing it. But again, that LR sheet which I'm generating is just a one bit of that paper. I have to analyze that SLR sheet which I'm generating. So research gaps, though, I would have to do it for myself. No AI tool can give that to me, right?
Yes, thank you, ma'am. I hope I'm audible. It was because
Yeah.
I'm struggling with the data extraction right now on SLR. So
Okay. Okay.
I'm doing on Excel manually. So yeah,
Hmm.
I might.
I would suggest you buy Elicit. It is not very expensive. So you will be able to generate your at least your Excel, your data. But
Okay,
again,
ma'am.
check that.
Ma'am, can you just type the?
Yeah, I will.
Yeah. Okay.
Elicit.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Elicit.ai. I have done. I'm typing both Skyspace and Elicit. These both can be used. Elicit.com. The correct name is Elicit.com site, but you can check. Just write Elicit AI tool or Skyspace. You'll get it. Right. Thank you, Amit.
I think there's another question on the AI detection and whether using AI for plagiarism has to be acknowledged while submitting for a journal. Because I think they ask for if you've used AI.
Yes. Yes. If you have used AI, it is good to acknowledge that. Uh, in some journals, not all journals are these days asking, but yes, if you're using, but again, to what extent are you using? Are you using the AI tool to write your whole manuscript? Then obviously your paper will get rejected. So in what sections and which sections you are generating and which sections and how you've used it. There is no harm in acknowledging. And I'm sure it's going to come in another 3-4 years because now all the journals are adopting this policy. So there is no written policy as such, right? So we are also waiting and watching that how this policy will come and how we can actually incorporate all these things. But another note of caution, even if you're writing through AI tools and you paraphrase it, that content which you're humanizing using the AI tool, just check it yourself, the kind of content it generates for you. It just gives you a garbage at times. Honestly speaking, it does not humanize the text in the way an academician should be writing. Just do it for 4 or 5 lines, you will understand. use any AI tool, whether it is paid or unpaid. It will not, you cannot, what humans can do, AI tool cannot do. You need to understand, there are a lot many workshops happening, there are many tools, and everybody will say that it's just for a smart work. Just smart work. Use it, there is no harm. Take an idea, develop the outline of a manuscript, and see how it is writing. Because it will be caught by plagiarism. Turn it into 1 minute mein pakad leta hai. So,
The AI detection will catch the paraphrasing also.
it catches the paraphrasing also. So it becomes difficult. And it is more tedious when you paraphrase it and then you remove the plagiarism after that.
Good line by line.
Yeah, it's a nightmare actually.
Any other questions from the participants?
I just want to add here, ma'am, it's a wonderful session. In fact, you explained each and everything, how it works and all that. I'm sure I think we may need one more session, maybe in person if it is possible, especially in our school, so that, you know, they can practice it also. Otherwise, you know, then again, most of them may forget about this, how to use and all that. But I personally, I feel, yes, definitely we should use these shortcuts, but, you know, somewhere we should not addict also. Otherwise, you know, your own conventional way of doing where exactly which will boost your confidence and to even understand the subject in better way. I think somewhere we need to limit ourselves, and we should not be completely, addicting to these kind of tools for the shortcut methods. But otherwise, these are all awesome tools, you know, like just to get rid of our major tension, because at the initial stage of the research where literature review is where very, very important thing, I think, and definitely it will reduce our time. Because otherwise, when you go in a conventional way, it may take again 2 years or 3 years. Sometimes you may not get a proper paper, or, you know, you will be lost. Your mood sets, mood swings, and all those things will get affected to conventional mode of literature review. But definitely this will help us in reducing that kind of a thing. But again, I think somewhere we need to know where to limit ourselves and then where to adopt is where we need to understand. I think definitely maybe one more session I personally felt should have in person, where they can use each and every tool, and then they can let them decide whether what extent they can go in.
Yeah,
So
you should
thank you so
learn.
much.
I think basics of research are very important, whether you are adopting a qualitative or quantitative. Once you understand the basics, tool is no rocket science. I mean, tool is not difficult. So you understand the concept, then you're good to go with any tool. So that's what I follow. So.
Right. Thank you, ma'am. And I don't think we have any further questions. So thank you for joining us. It was very, very comprehensive. And maybe we can call you again for another session. For a longer session, I think it would be easier to grasp, because it was.
Because 2 hours for manuscript writing is
too ambitious.
Too many things. I could not show the papers, the flow, the writing, you know, the transitions, which we really need to follow, how to do that. So that's all important part of manuscript writing. So I could not even show one paper. And
maybe we'll have a part 2. We'll plan for it, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Let's see.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for joining, and happy Diwali in advance to everyone.
Happy Diwali. Happy Dhanteras. Happy Diwali.